umpiring for about 12 years or so, various levels. I actually began umpiring in New Prague youth baseball games, so I understand where you guys are kind of coming from. And once I got started in that, I kind of transformed it into something that I do every summer. And I work high school baseball games, Legion baseball games, amateur baseball games, and college baseball games as well. I'm also on Northwest Umpire's Board of Directors. And one of our things that we're trying to do is get kids like you interested in umpiring, making you aware of what it is, and that it can be a really fun skill to learn. And once you're done playing baseball, if that ever does happen, you can always transition into umpiring later in life, or even while you're still playing at these ages, you can umpire in the summer as well. There's a huge need for umpiring, and so our goal tonight, I'll introduce John in a second here, our goal tonight is just to give you guys some high-level information about what umpiring is, some basics about equipment, some basics about arriving at the ballpark and having a pregame meeting with coaches, and some basics about how to stand behind the plate to call pitches, because a lot of you guys will be doing one-person umpiring or one-man umpiring, which means there's probably just one umpire on the field. As you progress in umpiring, usually more umpires are added to the field. In high school, there's 2 umpires. Sometimes in college, there's 3 or 4. Professional baseball 4 as well. But you guys are probably doing one-person umpiring. And so we'll focus on some things to do for calling pitches. And we'll talk about some mechanics, which means how you use your arms and your voice to call outs and strikes and balls and all that stuff. And then we'll just finalize with any questions you guys may have, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of the topics we'll cover. And this person right here is John Mosberg. If you want to give some background on yourself, John.
Yeah, so local to the area as well. I work at the hospital. This is about, I'm probably in that 10-year range as well, but as you can see, age-wise, I started my journey a little bit later than what Mike did. So it was another avenue for me, so I've been part of playing and coached at the high school, coached at the amateur level, played at the amateur level, but now needed something different. So that's why I ventured into the umpire piece, just to kind of see all aspects of that. But definitely like to see the interest here with you guys taking on some of the umpire roles.
Yeah. So congrats to you guys for being here and willing to get into umpiring, because it's not always something that people want to jump in to do. But you'll see, I think, if you get into it and do it, that it can be a lot of fun as well. So just a show of hands, how many folks have ever umpired a baseball game? Have you ever umpired at least one baseball game? A few of you? The rest of you have umpired 0 baseball games. Is that correct then? Okay. So we'll try and just go through some absolute basic things, and some of the topics we'll cover today. You can take it and use it. You can try it in the future, see what works for you. But with anything with umpiring, you can kind of take it and use what you can from it, or you can kind of put it to the side and say, hey, that didn't really work well for me, but maybe somewhere down the road it might come in helpful for you as well. So I just want to get started with some of the basics, some basic equipment. And the stuff you'll see here are the things that John and I use, and we've been doing this for a long time. We have some better stuff. When you get started, when I got started, for instance, I use some old gear that I have laying around from like old catcher stuff. I use my dad's old work pants. I may even use my dad's old work shoes for umpiring shoes. But I just want to show you what some of the gear looks like if you buy something new or what it's really intended to be. So real quick, we'll get started with shin guards. It's really important to have shin guards on, because if you're standing behind the catcher, obviously balls will get by the catcher and hit into your legs. And so these are umpire shin guards. You see they don't have the flaps on the toes like a catcher would have. I recommend for you guys, if you're getting into umpiring and you're not going to wear a steel-toed shoe or a specific plate umpire shoe, that you probably wear shin guards that have the catcher's flaps on the top, so it protects the top of your foot, because the top of your foot is going to be exposed a lot when you're umpiring. So something similar to these, or a little bit different. While we're on the shin guards here, these are plate shoes that I wear. And so plate shoes have kind of this protective flap over the toes. The toe is kind of a hardened plastic, or even maybe steel in there. You guys probably aren't going to go out and buy these, but maybe if you have like an old pair of boots or like a hardy work boot, or a pair of tennis shoes if you have those long catcher flaps that go on top, because your toes, like I said, will be exposed. But if you ever continue on in umpiring, these are sort of the things that want to get to protect your feet. Yeah, sure. There's also base shoes, base umpire shoes. If you ever do two-person umpiring, I'm kind of skip those right now because the focus is mainly on one-person umpiring. This is a hardened chest protector that we'll wear. It looks kind of almost like a football player's gear. For us, it's kind of important because we're seeing some pretty hard-pitched baseballs with kind of a hardened shell on it. You guys can use something like this, or just use like a catcher's chest protector that you may have access to. And the key thing is that it fits snugly, so that it's not fitting too loosely or hanging down low on your neck. Because if it's hanging low on your neck, your collarbone area will be exposed. So if you use any sort of chest protector, or something like this, or a catcher's one, make sure it fits tightly, and then it fits you so that your upper body is protected. We want to keep our sternum, our collarbone, and our ticker safe. We have a mask here. You can use anything you want. You can use the old style, or we call it the old style, the flip. There's also the hockey, the full face hockey helmets, catcher's masks that you see. So any sort of access you have to, whether it's something like this or a hockey style mask, you're going to want to have that to protect your face. We wear hats. We call these, I think, 6-stitch hats. They have like 6 thread lining on them. This also is like a particular umpire's hat where it has a little bit shorter bill. It's easier to flip the mask on and off. If you have access to one of these and get one of those, that works great. Otherwise, if you have any sort of ball cap that you have. One thing that we try and like to see is just have your bill facing forward. A lot of guys like an umpire, they may have it backwards. That's fine for starting out. And as you get better or move up in umpiring, like to see the hat face forward. And sometimes if your bill isn't super short, you may wonder, well, how do you get that mask over that big, long bill in the front? And it can be done with a little practice and whatnot. But just have access to a mask of some sort, and a hat, or a full face mask. And even some umpires nowadays are wearing hard shell helmets, where they may have a hard shell batting helmet without ear flaps to wear with their mask, just to further protect their head. So lots of options out there, but these are some things that we're going through here. Some other key important things, a brush, a plate brush. You can use anything. My first plate brush was just a paint brush that my dad cut down, and I used that. I stuck it in my back pocket when I umpired, but umpire brushes can be purchased. And then also what we call an indicator. You may call it a clicker, but we call it an indicator. It keeps track of balls and strikes and outs. Some keep track of the inning on here as well. But this is important to use. And whether you're left or right-handed, the proper hand to put it in is your left hand. So if you do use the clicker or the indicator, if you can get used to it, using it in your left hand, that's a proper hand for it. What else do we have here? We have a black belt. If you're wearing, I should probably get in the pants. So the pants, we want to wear like a gray colored pant. These are umpire pants that you can purchase. A little wider for fitting over the top of your pants, shin guards. For those of you guys getting started, you can use any sort of gray pant that you may have access to. I used a pair of old Dockers that my mom got at a thrift store. They're kind of bigger and baggier on me. They fit over my shin guards. So you guys can use whatever you have access to. Some folks will wear the shin guards over the top of their shorts, and that's fine too. But as you progress up in umpiring, we want to have all the gear that we have on hidden. Umpires, as you get higher levels, have all their under stuff hidden, shin guards, chest protectors. Once you guys are getting started, just feel free to have those items on, whether they're on the inside or outside. That's fine. We also have various kinds of shirts. These are umpire shirts. There's tons of different styles. There's blue styles, black styles. This is like the high school shirt. If you're just getting started, try and find a blue or a black shirt with a collar. That's preferred. It looks a little more professional. Anything you have around the house. That'll work. All these things that we have here in front of you can be purchased online. There's a good website if you want to stay with Umpire, or you think you're going to stay with it a long time. I have it in the handout here. It's called umpattire.com. They have a lot of these things available if you ever have interest in those. Anything else you want to talk about? Bags, umpire bags. Yes, the ball bags. You can also purchase ball bags online, or like a softball bag, and these go around your belt loops, and that's why we have the umpire belt here. You can wear 2 ball bags, one on each side, or just 1 ball bag. If you're right-handed, I probably could have one on the right-hand side, so you can just dip in and grab it, throw it back, or give it to the catcher. If you're left-handed, probably on your left hip. Different colors of ball bags are available, blue or black. And again, we have these black belts that we wear around, obviously, our waist to keep our pants up and to put our ball bags around. So if you're just getting started, any sort of like playing in sports, they have these ball bags available just to keep the extra baseballs in between pitch goes out of play or foul ball, so you can easily grab one and toss it back to the pitcher or the catcher. Anything else here? That's kind of it. But again, if you progress in umpiring, you can spend a whole bunch of money on this stuff, or you can spend it whatever you need. So with anything, equipment is kind of up to whatever you want to do. So you're able to slide some stuff up the way.
And just something to think about, when you buy this stuff, it's not like you're, like, I talked to Mike, those are his original ones, I have my original ones, so this stuff lasts. If you do get a better quality stuff, lasts for a long time. It's not something that you can replace after 5 years or even 10, more permanent than anything, but it lasts.
And like I said, when I started, I just made it work. You know, thrift store, dad's closet, just make it work. But I will say though, as you progress in umpiring, how you look as an umpire becomes important. And so if you ever do progress in that, just keep that in the back of your mind, that look is important as well. Let's see here. So that's equipment. And this handout, you guys can keep this. If you have any questions on it, let me know. My information's in the back, my email address. I can always answer any questions you have. It will morph into the game arrival and starting of a game. And so, for us, umpiring high school baseball or college baseball, it's always important to maybe contact the coach of the game that we're going to. For you guys, you'll probably be given a game, maybe like be a sign-up genius, something like that, and so you'll know where your game is and what time it is. If you ever have access to the coach's information, we sometimes would contact the teams or the coaches just to verify that the game is on a particular date and time, so there's no mix-ups or any sort of mistakes with that. You guys probably won't have to worry about that, but just keep that in the back of your mind. But it's always important to arrive at least 15 to 30 minutes before the game. And that varies with the different skill levels that you're working. But it's just good to get there a little bit early so that the coaches maybe see you there. They're not getting worried like, well, is Bobby coming? Is the umpire going to be here? So just kind of try and get there a little bit early, whether mom and dad are dropping you off or whether you're getting to the game some other way. A lot of you guys probably don't have your own cars, so you probably are getting dropped off. So you can come already pre-dressed at home, get your stuff on at home as best you can, or maybe save a few things to put on at the ballpark, in the parking lot, or in the dugouts, that kind of thing, when you get there. But the first thing we want to do when we begin the game is roughly 5 to 10 minutes before the game starts. We're going to probably step out onto the field so that people can see that we're there, the coaches can see that we arrived, and have all of our gear with us. And if we have a mask, we try and keep our mask with us at all times. We don't try and don't toss it on the ground or whatnot. A good neutral way of hanging onto our mask is just underneath our left arm like this. If I'm coming out of the ballpark field, I'm going to have my mask tucked underneath here. If I have one of those hockey-style helmets, I may tuck it kind of like this, a little more bulky, kind of like it's a jug of milk almost, right here like this. And when the teams maybe finish their pre-game practice or infield outfield practice, we'll make our way and we'll kind of mosey up to behind home plate. And when we walk walk onto the baseball field as umpires, it's always important to look like we have confidence. Even though we may not have confidence or have all the ability in the world, we want to walk with our heads held high and act like we want to be there, because we are the purveyors of the game. We're kind of the folks that are the ruling or the enforcement of the game. So we want to look confident and like we're excited to be there. And so we'll walk up behind the plate and we'll wait there. We're going to wait for both coaches to come to the plate for our pregame meeting. And so if no one's coming, I might say, hey coach, ready for the game to start? Would you mind coming up for the ground rules? And the coach will come up, and this coach will come up, and we'll just introduce ourselves. Hi coach, I'm Mike. Hi, good to meet you. Another coach over here. Hi coach, I'm Mike, good to meet you. And at this point in time, for the levels you guys do, a lot of these things will vary, but the main source of what the pregame meeting is it maybe just going through ground rules, meaning what are some of the rules that we're going to have in play for the game, whether it's the physical ground rules if the ball goes out of play, or what's considered in play or out of play. Maybe there's special rules that are being used in that game. Maybe there's a batting limit or a time limit in that game. Let's try and talk about some of those high-level things with the coach. And we'll kind of walk through those things. When we're done, we'll shake hands, and we'll move on. The coaches will go back to their dugouts, their benches, and then we'll just take a neutral position. We'll walk a little bit off to the left and right, and wait for the team to come on the field. Both teams will come on the field, and the catcher and the pitcher begin to warm up. And that's a great point in time where we can warm up ourselves. And so when the catcher and pitcher are getting ready for the game, we may walk up to the catcher and just introduce ourselves to the catcher. Hi catch, I'm Mike, it's good to meet you. He'll say, hey, I'm Bobby, or I'm Timmy, good to meet you. And that's a point in time where we can stand behind him and begin to just watch some pitches and get ourselves warmed up. So flip on the mask and just get behind the catcher. We'll get to some details on that in a few seconds here. But just begin to see some pitches, see the speed that he's throwing at, what he may have for stuff, that sort of thing. So just kind of get ourselves acclimated and ready to umpire for that day's game. Let's see here. Anything else you want to add to that? Okay. So now I want to focus on calling pitches and our plate setup. And I want to spend the most time tonight on this because I think it's important for you guys to just get the high-level basics of how to set up behind the plate and the catcher and some key philosophies with that. Let me bring my notes back over here. So the first concept I want to introduce to you all is the slot. The slot is the position between the catcher and the batter. So I'll be the batter and John's the catcher, which was a tremendous catcher, by the way, everybody. We didn't know that. The slot is the space between the batter for a righty and the catcher. So this little lane right here. If I was a left-handed batter, the slot is the lane between the batter and the catcher on this side. Some folks in the beginning umpiring, they think, well, I'm going to be calling pitches. The best place to see pitches is behind the catcher. So I'm going to stand behind the catcher. That's not actually what we want to do. We want to have our nose in the center of the slot. So if a right-handed batter is up, it's going to have this lane right here again. I want my nose to be in the center of that slot area. And realistically, the center of the slot is probably with my nose directly on the inside corner of the plate for a righty, and the exact opposite for a lefty. And the reason we do this is a couple different reasons. First of all, the biggest thing is when I'm directly behind the catcher. When I'm directly behind the catcher, although I feel like he's blocking me and I won't ever get hit by the pitch or any foul balls, the majority of foul balls that come back off the bat do come directly behind the catcher. So if we're directly behind the catcher, we're right in the way of potentially getting foul balls at our chest, our face, etc. If we're in the slot, statistics show that there's fewer foul balls that come at this angle. And so it's important to kind of be in that slot area for that reason. But also, when I'm directly behind the catcher, when I go down low, if he puts his glove down super low, I cannot see his glove right now, everybody. I have no idea where his glove is. However, if I'm in the slot,
I can actually see his glove. Whether he goes super down low or super high, I can see his glove better. And so although we're looking at we're looking at an angle in a sense to the plate, it allows us to see the entire plate if we're in the slot area. Same with the left-handed batter over here. It allows us to see that. And I think if we have some time at the end here, we're going to have you guys all maybe take some reps of just getting in the slot. So John and I can just see you guys and maybe get comfortable understanding what that concept is. But I just want to introduce that concept to you real quickly. The next phase with getting behind the plate is head height. And the key thing for head height is when we are locked into the pitch, excuse me, we want to have our head roughly, the bottom of our chin, roughly at the same height as the top of the catcher. That allows us to really understand and see the strike zone and see around the catcher's hands and body. And so when we're getting down to crouch, my chin should be roughly the same height as the top of his head. Now for you guys, you may be encountering some younger teams or younger players, the catcher may be super short or super low. And while we can get down low by just using our legs, some of your taller boys may even want to just get on a knee to see that low. If you're doing a younger level baseball game, getting on your knee is fine. As you do older games, we probably don't want to get on our knee, but if you want to get to roughly the same height on the top of his head, you may have to get down on that knee to see pitches. What's that? Yeah. Do you have any questions on those concepts? Like I said, if we have time right at the end, I want to get you guys up here to just kind of walk through some reps on those things. The next one I want to talk about is the use of eyes. So, imagine when you're taking a picture. I'm sure a lot of you guys have your own cell phones or access to your parents' cell phones. If you're ever taking a picture of anything, and if you're moving quickly while taking that picture, the picture looks kind of distorted. Kind of like, what the heck's going on? It looks all like it's moving or it's long. The same concept applies in umpiring, where we want to have our picture taker, our eyes, set. We want to have it as still as possible. And so when we're calling pitches, it's important that when we get ourselves in the slot, when we get our head height roughly about the height of the top of the catcher's head, that we keep our head also and our eyes as still as possible while the pitch is coming in. And it's important that we use our eyes to track the baseball. So when the pitcher is on the mound or the rubber area and he throws it, we don't want to use our head, we don't want to move our body or be moving when that pitch is coming in. We want to be set, locked in, our head roughly the height of the catcher's top of his head, and just use our eyes to track the baseball all the way from his hand all the way to the catcher's glove. And that takes a lot of practice to get used to. And so if you're ever at home on the couch or whatever, just try and imagine watching a baseball come all the way to the glove and not moving your head or not flinching and watching it all the way to the glove. So in a sense, if you want to get down real quick here, one thing that we think about as umpires when we're training is when the pitcher is on the rubber, we get ourselves in the slot, and then when he comes set, when he's ready to pitch, we call that ready. And when he throws it, we imagine watching it all the way to the glove. So kind of try and watch my eyes if you can. Here's the pitch, boom, to his glove. Notice I keep my head as still as possible, my chin, my head, my body. I'm just using my eyes to watch where the ball goes. Whether it's down the middle or maybe low and away or up high and inside, wherever, if I'm in the slot properly, if I'm using my eyes, I can see the baseball and I can judge where it ended up. And the key thing is to watch all the way from the pitcher's hand all the way to the glove and watch it the entire way. A lot of umpires when they're young and starting out, they may see the baseball, coming in roughly about here, and they're already making up their mind as to what the pitch will be. They see it here, and they think, that looks pretty good, that's going to be a strike. So in their mind, they're already thinking, I'm going to call this a strike. It's important that we watch all the way to the glove to then make up our mind where it is. Because then we'll see across the entirety of the plate. And as you get older with umpiring, more experienced, how the catcher catches it will have some bearing on what we call, but we'll worry about that later. So it's important to watch all the way in, all the way to the catcher's hand and glove. Any thoughts on that or anything we're missing? Any questions? Feel free to jump in if you have any questions on these things. The next thing is timing. So again, we have our slot, we have our head height, we have use of eyes, and the next key important term in umpiring is timing. Timing just means simply that we use time, we allow the entire play to finish before we make our decision. Remember how I was talking about some umpires will make their decision on whether it's ball or strike, and the ball is out here, and the ball is about here. We need to see the play all the way through, whether it's calling pitches or seeing a play on the field. It's important to have good timing where we see the entire play, let it all finish, and then we make up our mind as to what has happened. Is it a ball or a strike? Is it a foul ball or fair ball? Is it a safe and out? So the key term there is timing. So when I'm watching this pitch, I'm in the slot, I have my head height ready, I'm watching with my eyes all the way to the glove, boom, the catcher catches it, and now I'm making up my mind. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good pitch. But I'm just making up my mind. I'm using timing to figure out what I want to do next. Or I might say in my head, catcher kind of grabs it, ooh, that's not a good pitch. That's probably going to be a ball. But I'm just thinking that in my mind, and I'm using time to go by to figure out what I'm going to do next. So that's what the term timing is. Just let the play finish all the way through before you say it, if that makes sense. The next and final piece about this is just the vocalization or the mechanic. And that's when it all kind of comes together. So with calling pitches, I'll get back in the slot again. I'll make sure my head height is good. I'm going to use my eyes to track the pitch. Catches it. I'm going to use my timing to see what it is. That's a pretty good pitch. I'm going to call it a strike. So now the next and final step is the vocalization or the mechanic of what we're going to do. And that's how we then relay the information that we have as the umpire in our minds to everybody else. Players, the fans, your grandma on the second row over there. We're going to let her know what just happened. So the ball comes in, boom, it's a perfect pitch, strike. Now I'm going to use my voice and I'm going to point. So I'm going to call a strike. So I'm going to go, boom. Hey! We'll get into in a second how to call a strike and what that all means and different things you can do. That's kind of the culmination of a pitch. So there's kind of 5 key things to calling pitches. Getting in the slot. This is the side for righty. This is the slot for a lefty. Our head height. We use our knees and our thighs to kind of get our different head heights. Use of eyes, tracking it from the pitcher down to the catcher's glove. Timing, seeing what it was, making our decision in our head. And then the vocalization or the mechanic, calling it a strike or a ball. And while I'm down here, I guess the key thing I want to talk about also is that we call strikes, stand up, yep, and we call balls, balls. When I first started umpiring, I just called strikes, meaning if it was a strike, I called it a strike. If it was a ball, I didn't say anything. We want to have you guys vocalize whether it's a ball as well. So if it's a perfect pitch, we'll call that a strike, say it out loud. If it's a ball, we'll say it out loud as well. Ball. That way everyone knows what it is. I think one of the key concepts with when I first started was, well, it's a ball. If I don't say anything, everyone knows it's a ball. We want everyone to know that it was a ball, that we made a decision on it, and that it is a ball. Do you have any thoughts on that? No. Okay, any questions on some of those things? I'm going through pretty quickly, I know, but we will, again, get you guys up, and we're going to have you guys do some mechanics in that. Maybe now's a good time to talk about strikes and balls. If you want to maybe in the spot and show how you call strikes, just how you can do it, what you do, how you call a strike, how you call a ball.
Yep, so you're going to have, and this can change even from year to year depending on comfort level or what you've developed from previous season. I think when I first started, I was a hammer, okay? Where I got into trouble with this was when the catcher would come up to throw, sometimes I was still hung out here. not that we get tangled up, but it might be an interference on me, or it might make them feel uncomfortable. Okay, so a lot of times if you can clear him and get out here instead, that probably is a better scenario, or it was for me anyway. Timing of, like Steve was saying, if you can vocalize and make the gesture at the same time, there's some credibility with that. You probably noticed that when he said his ball, he stayed down, so you don't come up and say ball, you say ball before you come up, versus when the strike, you would make that movement and vocalize at the same time. Obviously always with the right hand. I know some people are left-handed, but if you start doing it left-handed, then it kind of confuses people. Was it a ball? Was it a strike? So we always want to say, stay with the right hand. I guess I get nothing else on that. The two big ones you're going to see are the hammer, probably, and the, I don't know what they call this one. The point.
Yeah. And the key thing with calling anything on the baseball field is to use your voice. You guys you're young, you're probably maybe scared of umpiring or timid. I mean, I know I was. You're just getting into it. The best thing you can do to make people believe you is to use your voice and to be stern with that. So imagine you're yelling at your buddies or yelling at your sister or whoever. Use that same voice. You want to use a voice that's not screaming or yelling. You don't want to be loud or obnoxious, but you want to make sure that the grandma or the grandpa in that second or third row, who has his hearing aid, his battery's dying, you want to make sure he can hear you. You know what I'm saying? So make sure that grandpa in the third row hears you saying strike, or hears you saying out on the baseball field when you're doing that. As John mentioned, with strikes, we want to stand up. Once we made our decision, stand up nice and tall, as tall as we can be, and then point at a strike. Whether we're pointing to the side, like I do, or if you're doing the hammer, like John mentioned, the hammer is just kind of calling a strike like this. So you're standing up to let everyone see you. You're trying to be as tall as you can. When you're calling a ball, you want to stay down. So, boom, ball. Again, I'm not really loud, I'm not really quiet, but I'm stern when I'm doing that.
On the balls,
Yeah.
maybe avoid saying that's in, that's up, that's out. A ball's a ball. Okay? It just avoids stuff, people questioning, oh, where was that one, or creating problems down the road. So a ball's a ball.
For you guys, you'll be encountering catchers who are probably not good at catching at times as well. Try and get comfortable using your gear to protect you. And that's easier said than done. I understand that. But it's a principle that if you can conquer the knowledge that your equipment is there to protect you, you'll become a better umpire because you'll be able to stay in the play longer. So a lot of things you guys may encounter is you'll want to maybe get out of the way when the catcher maybe isn't very good, or it's a poor pitch and you see it coming right at your face. And so the key thing is to remind yourself, my equipment is there to protect me. And so try and keep your body square to the play, because when you're square to the play, that's when your equipment works the best. If you begin to, some of you guys catch, if you begin to turn your head, or maybe go off the side like, something like that, that's when you become exposed. That's when your equipment no longer protects you. So if you can try and keep your body and your shoulders square to the play, and just live with what happens. And I'm saying that from a person who absolutely hates pain. I hate getting bruises, I hate getting hit. But if you stay square to the play, your equipment should keep you safe. And also, being in the slot, you're really kind of out of harm's way, like I mentioned before. When you're behind the catcher, that's where you are in harm's way.
I was going to try and get the stick.
Oh yeah, I know.
So if you got a ball,
Right, it kind of goes off to the side. But yeah, so keep that philosophy in mind. Try and use your equipment and your gear to protect you. Excuse me. Any thoughts or questions that you may have, things you're thinking about? Try to go through just some basic mechanics, some basic ways to use our arms and our hands. So we've talked about the strikes and the balls. We always point the strikes up to the right. Balls, we just say out loud. When we begin a game, if there's ever a foul ball, we have, like, it's in your handout as well, the do not pitch sign. So if a game is first getting started, or there's been a foul ball out of play and the ball has become dead, in order to put the ball back into play, we'll just kind of put our hand up to showcase that the time is out, the ball is dead, and then we're going to point the ball back into play by simply saying, play, or play, kind of like that. So this is that do not pitch sign. You're holding the pitcher up, time is out, time is out. Now when he's on the rubber and the batter's in his box, play, point at him. If there's ever a foul ball, if it's out of play in the stands, if it's a foul ball, a dribbler down the line, there are different ways to call a foul ball. If a foul ball is hit, and it's back beyond the catcher and the batter behind us, or if it's way out of play down the line, or way out of play on the left field line, we don't have to necessarily scream and yell that it's been a foul ball, because pretty much everyone at the ballpark knows that it's foul. And so with those, it's just simply fine to just come up and do the foul or the dead ball sign, kind of like foul ball. Everyone knows it. Now, if there's a foul ball that's hit down the first baseline or the third baseline, that maybe is just an inch or two foul or fair or foul, maybe a few feet, that's when we're going to want to vocalize to everybody that it's a foul ball. And so an example of that may be, let's say, pretend there's a foul ball from the third baseline, maybe 2 or 3 feet foul. I'm going to want to come up from my crouch position and just use my voice to be stern and use my hands to show the mechanic of it. So something like this. The ball's hit, boom, it's foul, 3 feet foul, I'm watching it, foul! Kind of stern, kind of good voice. And you can also point a foul ball, foul with your hands. So left hand for a foul ball on the third baseline that's foul, your right hand for a foul ball down the right field line that's foul. Thoughts on that?
A lot of times if you sell it, if you're, by your voice, by your excitement, that kind of gives you credibility on the call as well.
One thing we haven't talked about tonight is our rules. And as I'm thinking about foul balls, like what makes a ball foul or what makes a ball fair, rules will kind of come with time. I touched on this in the packet, that we're not going to talk a lot about rules tonight, because so long as you have a basic understanding of baseball, you can get started as an umpire. As you maybe do more umpiring or work higher age games, you may want to familiarize yourself more with the rules of the game and how those all work, because you may encounter some of those things. It's really hard to teach rules because they can't be so specific. So as long as you're just familiar with the basic rules, you should be just fine getting yourself started in the game. Any more to say about that? I'm just thinking about a foul ball, like what makes it foul or fair. Think about. Talk about outs and safes. Maybe we want to talk about outs and safes, the mechanics of that. Just how they work, how they look. Yep. Maybe a runner going to first base, he's out, he's safe, type of thing.
Yep, so whatever base you're at, again, in whatever way that you can sell it the most, if it warrants that. So obviously a bang play is going to need a little bit more animation than somebody who's out by 10 feet, okay? You got a couple things, we're going to go into that.
First base.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll do that angle and distance.
Okay.
Yeah, but just start.
so.
The first baseman, getting a ground ball.
So as I'm looking here, I'm using my ears and my eyes at the same time, okay? So my eyes are focused on his foot and my ears are waiting for that ball to hit his glove. And just like with home plate, my eyes and my body are staying quiet, okay? So I'm coming to a complete stop before I make this call. All right, so as the ball comes in, I'm hearing for the hit, I'm looking at his foot to make sure that it stays on the base, and I'm also looking at when the runner's coming in at the same time, okay? So someone that's out by 10 feet, maybe I'm going hammer here, okay? Just a nice easy one. maybe it's a little bit more of a banger, I come in on it a little bit more and sell it, okay? Or maybe he's safe, same thing, we're taking a step in, we want to come up and out if we can, okay? We don't want to be flying, all right? So again, selling it depending on how far it was, but everything warrants a call.
We call outs with our right hand, and if you are left-handed, we use our right hand for all out calls. And out calls can vary, as John mentioned. A typical straightforward out call is just simply kind of like your elbow, roughly about the height of your shoulder, and then your hand kind of up in the air, kind of hammering it. That's where everyone can see it. You want to kind of get it nice and high. So if the player's out, he's out. He's out, out, whatever you want to use is kind of the words we're going to use when he's out. If he's safe, the universal safe sign, like John said, out here like this. And one thing he said, he talked about selling it. Selling it means you want to convince people that what you saw, what you're saying is true. And so selling means I'm trying to sell people on what I just saw to be fact. And so when you sell something, you're going to want to use your voice and maybe even your body to try and reinforce that. So what looks more believable to you guys if a player is safe? A or B? I'll do two things. What looks more believable? Safe! 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 Or this. Safe! Probably the second one, right? So try and use your body as best you can. Your young guys understand. Try and use your body to really look stern and like you really mean it. Try and be as tall as you can be. And try and say it as forcefully as you can. I know it's tough. It's tough. But the more you look kind of like, oh boy, I don't know, if your head is down, you're kind of kicking the dirt and walking back, you're just not going to look like you're too confident. We want to trick people. The whole thing with umpiring is tricking people. You played. You understand it that we want people to think that we're right. Because you know what? We're not always right. And a lot of times we're not always completely confident. But we want to trick people into thinking we are. That's the key thing with umpiring. A lot of times we are right, but we want to trick people into thinking that we were right for sure.
Like that's like you guess.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Exactly.
Timing? A little bit.
Timing on that, yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine I'm running on the first base. I'm the runner, and I'm going to be safer out at first base here. Just like talking about pitching and calling pitches, I want to see the completion of the play because things like that can happen where I think the runner's going to be out by a mile. I'm running through, he's going to be out. Oh, but the ball just dropped. So we want to make sure we watch the entire play. Same thing with the tag play, where if I'm at a base and the kid is going to slide in and the ball beats him by 100 miles, I slide in, but then the ball is on the ground. We want to make sure we watch the play all the way through, all the way to the end. And that's the concept of timing again, where we see everything happen. Make sure the catcher holds on to the ball, make sure the runner touches the base, all sorts of things. See all that information, and then make our call. I think some of the things that get new umpires in trouble is that they assume things. They think something will happen, and then it doesn't. And with youth baseball, when you have young kids playing baseball, a lot of weird things can happen. And so you want to make sure you watch the entire play all the way through, and then make your decision. Let's see here. Okay, for the next 15 minutes, let's just maybe skip to let's get them up here and just go through some of the slot, the head height, things like that. But before we do that, we talk one last thing about angle and distance. So a lot of you guys are doing one-person umpiring, and one concept, it's hard to teach that per se, but when you have a call on the bases, one of the key things you want to get in your minds is just the concept of hustling and trying to get as close to a play as you can without having to run as absolutely fast as you can. And so with umpiring, it's more important to get a better angle, a better vision to the play than it is to be close to a play. So you want to hustle, get as close as you can, but also make sure you try and get a good angle. And so I can, if there's a play at any base, I can stand right on top of the base and then make a call. That'd be great, but I physically cannot do that. I cannot be that close. And so whenever I have to make a call, I want to try and be roughly 90 degrees to the play. So meaning kind of I want to have like a right angle or a square to the play. Wherever the play is, I want to have roughly that vision to where the ball is coming from. So the ball is coming from over there, where Mr. Giesen is. I want to be 90 degrees to where the ball is coming from, to where the call is, wherever that is on the field. So wherever I'm coming from, I want to hustle to get as close as I can, knowing that I want to be stopped when the play is going to happen. So when the play, where the runner is running through first base, or the tag is going to be happening, I want to get as close as I physically can, and then when I know that the play is imminent, or it's going to happen very, very soon, I want to stop, and I want to get myself in this set, meaning I want to be stationary and kind of, set, I guess is the word, but just be ready for the call. Maybe that means putting my hands on my knees. I want to lock myself in. Maybe that's putting all my weight in the balls of my feet. I want to be totally intent on seeing this, and I want to be stopped. The camera thing before too, or the camera, if you're moving, it's a bad picture. I want to be stopped so your eyes are set, and then here's the play. I'm going to watch it all the way through. I'm going to have a good angle so I can see everything. I can see where his feet are, where the runner's feet are, where the glove is, those sorts of things. As you get more experience, you understand what that means. But if you're just thinking about having a good angle, after you've gotten as close as you possibly can to the play. With that being said, you never want to be absolutely on top of the play, because a lot of things can go wrong here. This fielder has to make a lot of movements, or the runner might run into you. So there's a note in your packet about being probably 12 to 15 feet away. Roughly like if you're a free throw away from the basket. Roughly that distance away from the play, because you can see the entirety of the play. If you're too close, things can go wrong and a lot of things can blow up. So that's the angle distance principle. Any questions? I'm sure you guys have a ton. Rick?
Can I throw a comment?
Yes.
I know everybody in this room pretty much, but as a coach and a player, I really think when a kid or an umpire leaves behind the catcher and gets out and sees the play, I'm going to give you a benefit of the doubt, because you are attempting to make a good call. Like, even if it's a play, a ground ball to first base, you step out from behind, you get out in front of the catcher, and you can see the angle. As you are moving, you gain big points from the coaches and the players, because you are giving an effort to do the best you can. Okay, and so don't sit right behind the catcher, guys. Okay, some of the guys that I've coached in the youth, so the 9, 10s, 11s, the umpire just sits back there, and there's a play at second base, out, like slide out, make that effort to make, even if it's 3 steps that you're getting out in front of the plate, that's going to sell a lot. And it looks really professional when you guys are getting out from your spot.
Right.
And maybe you guys have already talked about that. But
No, we haven't. That's a good point.
And I agree with Rick.
Yeah.
From umping, and I've had, you get close plays where the coach is like, you're wrong, but as long as you're out there, a lot of times they're like, okay, it's, I'll give him, he's been out, moving around, making sure he's at the right angle.
Right.
So it is very important to get out from behind the plate.
And these are good points. I mean, we are the umpire. We have the umpire mentality. You guys as coaches and dads, I mean, jump in. What are some things that you see with umpires that you wish, kind of to Rick's point, that you're seeing that you wish umpires did better or more of? Anything else?
this may debunk one of the things you said. You guys have to have confidence in your call. But if you know it's a rule and you're wrong, it's okay to make the play right. When it's a dead ball, hey, you know what, coaches, can you come here for a second? I know that play, I had a situation a couple of years ago where it was a ball 4 and a pass ball. So you guys all know baseball. Ball 4, bases loaded, pass ball. And the catcher played it like it was a play at the plate, and the runner at third played it like it was a play at the plate. But there really was no play at the plate because everybody moves one base, right? The umpire called him out at the plate, and it ended the inning on ball 4. And you guys all know that that's a dead ball, and everybody advances. Once everybody advances a base, it's a live ball. But I told the umpire, and you guys all know me, I don't yell too much. I said, you know, you can change this call. Just, you have the opportunity to make this right. And he was like, no, coach, I can't change my call. I can't change my call. I can't change it. I made a call, I can't change it. And I was like, you can. You can. Okay? But you got to live with the call that you made. Okay? So if you do decide, if you know it's wrong, he even said, I know it's wrong, but I can't change it. So, and I called the association, I called the umpires so that that kid could be coached into, you know, like if you know it's wrong, you can change the call to make it right. Now, balls and strikes, I wouldn't change a call on balls or strikes. Like, that's done. Those quick things, those are done. But if you know it's a rule thing, you can say time, have a conference with the umpire, you know, talk about it, think about it, and make the situation right.
Umpiring will make you have confidence in yourself. Because I'll begin this by saying, I am so glad you are interested in umpiring and want to do it. So glad. At the same time, when something wrong happens,